realize you're either right or not right, and it might not be the right job, but if you did your job in that room, we will remember you.
I want to kind of get into your head a little bit. And one of the first things I wanted to know is, because I think that this is really hard when you do something for a very long time, to keep it fresh, to be motivated. And what I see you do on your Instagram, you're always just so upbeat, and you're always motivating people and putting pictures of your dog, and like you love the people you work you love the people you work with. And my first question was, after all these years of casting, what is it that still ignites you and puts the spark to keep your attitude in such a great place?
Wow, thank you so much. So much of what you guys see, maybe in those feeds is me trying to, it's my own growth and my own work, or like even some of those things I post are I'm telling myself a lot of those things. So I'm very grateful to still be here. I'm I'm not only grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful to be alive, because the older I get, the more I don't take anything for granted, life or careers or work. And I still feel, even with a pandemic or something like this, that anything could change in a moment. And I've had so many ups and downs in life, as we all have, and concerns, and and I've been through a lot. And to me, it's if I could help somebody or give back, that to me is a wonderful thing, because we really are, and I say this and it drives my staff crazy sometimes, we are in this together. We really are. And we need each other. And I always try to, stay current and change it up. Like 20 years ago it was just commercials, and then we were so fortunate through Heidi Levitt and one of my commercials, Mark Pellington, we transitioned into film about 8 years ago. And, and then I got very involved with the CSA because of that. And then I was on their board, and now I'm on their Inclusion and Diversity Committee, and doing a lot of work with, just actors with disabilities, or transgender actors, or, we did something recently for Native Americans and Indigenous people. So we're always trying to, it's just, it's just my drive maybe, or my passion to keep this going. And, then we opened Atlanta a couple of years ago. So I'll keep doing this for as long as I can, when it's time, when there's no work, it's just time to move on. So.
Right. I have a question for you. So bringing up the feature films that you were doing, what is the difference for you in choosing actors for the commercials versus choosing actors for the feature films? And I know that like the top 5 are usually on lists, but could you tell most of the people who are watching, like, what the difference is?
My process, you mean?
Yes, in choosing actors for commercials versus feature film.
Really good question. I'll give you guys like a simplistic example too. When I'm casting a commercial, I'll read your resume from the bottom. And if I'm casting a feature film, I'd start with your training, and then I go to your credits. So with commercials, it's so, it doesn't matter to me if you've had a ton of guest star credits, or you've done leads in movies, or, I'm more concerned with if you've had on-camera training. You're doing a feature film, a lot of times you're not looking directly in a lens. In a commercial, you are. It's a very different technique. So camera training. Have you had improv? That's so important. And improv isn't only dialogue. It could be buttoning something by raising an eyebrow at the end of the statement, or so your special skills are always important, because we get a sense of you. I want to get a sense of who you are more so than what your acting is. The only part of your acting that I'm concerned about is if you've had training, because it is a technique. Sometimes it's harder, than doing, I think, a feature, or like a commercial, like you think of them now as 30-second short films,
Yes.
but the moments are so condensed and the technique is so different. You know, you for 8 hours you might be on a set with your eyebrow, you know, because there's no dialogue, and maybe that's what you were hired to do. Feature film, it's very different. You do look for experience, you know, in maybe the bigger roles, the leads and sub leads, and but I always go to training still first, more than you know, even the credits, and then it really depends on the role or the character. If it's you know, a co-star or there's not much involved, the credits aren't really going to matter that much. Um, you know, and the process is so different. Commercials, a lot of time, it's very assembly line, as you guys know. You know, I'll see 100 actors sometimes in a day for a commercial.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I see that over a month for a film. You
Yeah.
know, very, very different process. I think we're more apt to take chances on people in commercial auditions, you know, people that maybe, and we try to do that all the time, which is why we do the lives. And I do a lot of, you know, like classes of the schools that are in town. I'll go in as a guest speaker or something on the fourth week, and SAG Foundation, something this week with them. And it's just a way to meet new people, because even 1,000, or it might even be 100,000 plus now actors in the database, our minds are in front of a computer now for like 8 to 10 hours, but seeing pictures and
Yes.
seeing so many. So you know, when you go to your go-tos for, you know, that you know and love, and you know, you want to look out for, but you're always trying, you know, to find someone new and fresh, and um, you know, because it's also a change for us. It keeps us new and fresh. You know, so many actors out there.
I try to tell even my actors who have been in the business for a long time and are used to being called in all the time, and then sometimes they won't see a particular casting director and they know they were on their favorite list, but
Yeah,
you have to keep, because you're working, a lot of times you work for the same director over and over and over again, and you can't keep showing him the same people.
that's exactly right. And I have a lot of actor friends, as I know you do, and they reach out, and I haven't seen you in a while. What, you know, and it has nothing to do with them. It really doesn't. It has to do with, first of all, them just not being right, either for the commercial we're doing, or for the feature we're doing, or exactly what you just said. You know, a lot of our clients that we work for repeatedly don't want to see. You know, if they, like, we have a couple specifically got to go through everyone's audition histories, because if they were in for director over the last 2 years, they, unless they were called back and put on a veil, you know, they want new faces and new blood. So it's very, it's why I think a lot of the time too, we're not in commercial sessions. They happen so fast.
Yeah.
And we're constantly prepping, which is, you know, that being said though, you know, or we might have two rooms going. We do have monitors in our office where we can.
I was about to say that. You're always watching.
We're
You're
always
always watching.
And when we're not watching, and this is where I'm a casting geek, I'm told, because I will watch these. I don't make my comments as I go because I can't. So I'll, like, at the end of a day, sit down and then go through the links and make the comments for the clients. And I'll always have actors, you know, as session directors in the room. And, you know, sometimes I'll be texting them, you know, have her do it again, but, you know, have her pull it back, or,
Right.
but, you know, on a film or anything theatrical, I'm always in the room. It's a very different, um, and I'll always have a reader. I'm not. I commend casting directors who could read. I can't read and focus. I need to have, you know, and I want you guys to have an actor who's there and focused for you. So then I could just focus on you.
Yeah.
Gus. So
And I think that it's good for new actors to know that when you're asked to be a reader for a casting director, first of all, it's kind of an honor, especially if you're new. And it's a great way in the beginning to watch the casting process and to be able to see a lot of actors do the same role, and
yeah,
to see, oh, look what they just did, or look that they came in and they didn't try and please you, they didn't try and chat you up, they did their work.
That's
you know?
important, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about just personal growth and how and I think in all our journeys we're trying to be the best people we could be. So one thing I try to do and is empower actors to not give away their power in the situation. To not be obsequious and to not overdo or try too hard. We need you. We need actors. Everyone, the agency, um, the agents and the directors and the production, everybody. So you're as much a part of the equation as we are.
Yeah.
Um, and we could see that when an actor comes in a room, that either that desperation or that trying to please, and it's so much better when you got less is more. Don't give them anything, or any reason to not hire you. And I'll give an example real quick if it's okay with it.
Please, yes.
And if someone's heard me speak over the last week, I've used this example, but it's so powerful. We were in a callback situation for commercial. There were just a couple of lines for each person. The director was taking two people in at a time. He put them up on the mark. So it was a two-shot on the screen. Both of them were there. And he said to the first guy, say that. He pointed to a line, say that line, gave him a line. The actor said it. He goes, great, thanks. Then he goes to the second guy. He says, say this line. And he's like, oh, wow, that was really good. Say it this way. Oh, good. And then he's like working with him for a good 2 minutes. And all you could see with the first guy is defeat, face, because but the reality was the director loved him from before he even came in the room. He was a director pick, and the director was sold on him, so he didn't need to see anything else. But the actor kind of he shot himself in the foot just by his own reactions to that. So you guys have to stay very neutral and fake that confidence if you have to until you get in your car, or you get it back out in the lobby, because it's the same thing when you fumble. And I tell actors this too. When you're doing, especially pharmaceuticals, which are like wall-to-wall copy. You're going to be shooting that over like 2 days or even 1 day for 12 hours. So the first 3 hours you'll be doing the first two lines. If you're doing copy and you fumble, just stop and really break it up for a beat. Just stop and then find your place and go back into it. It just makes you guys look so much more professional. A lot of times someone will, like, oh shit, I just blew it. Can I do it again? And it's like, well, that all just happened on camera. So we have to really kind of do it. So it's little things like that to make your people, and you're going to make nothing. You shouldn't put all that pressure on yourself to nail these, auditions like that. So,
Right. And it's also about owning the time. It's your time and you're coming in to create something with the director, especially at a callback. And you're there for a reason because people liked you.
Yeah.
So it is really refreshing for someone to not put the onus of taking care of them on the people watching. It's like if you fumble, you just go, okay, we're going to do that again. And you make a joke out of it. Everybody laughs because everybody knows what happened in the room.
Yeah.
And then you just say, let's do that again, like right. You would if you were on set. If you were on set, you'd be like, blew that one. Let's do it again, That's
right. And first calls are very different. We'll always have, it's much more relaxed. We're there to work with you. We'll always do a read through. Especially if there's a lot of copy like that and you're working off a sheet in the lobby. When you come in, all of a sudden it's on the Chiron screen or it's on a card. And 9 times out of 10, one goes too fast the first time and you're not sure where the words are. So, but it's just a lot of taking pressure off yourselves with that. Because people, like you said, you'll make mistakes, not even on set. And you'll take.
Yeah, I think in the audition room, people are trying so hard to get the job instead of just going in and acting.
Yeah.
And saying, this is my time to just go in and be an actor for today.
That's right.
They put all this pressure about, I have to get the job, and then they're not really in the room.
No, exactly. Stay present in the room because you might come in and might not be right for that job, which we don't see. You might not know that when you're coming in, but we'll remember you for another job.
Right.
And not only us, but the directors and clients will reach out to us and say, bring in so-and-so who was in the callback for, you know, AT&T, but they didn't book it, or something like that. So it really, whatever tools you guys need, you know, and it's not only acting tools, it's going for a hike, and it's, you know, really just getting centered however you do, to realize you're either right or not right, and it might not be the right job, but if you did your job in that room, we will remember you for, you know, for the future, and just for like any another job, and then it does, you're in our like good pile, you know.
Yeah.
We don't, not every actor is going to book every job. There's just not a job for actors like that. So, but we'll remember you as someone who does your homework and who delivers.
Yeah. So I'm going to go all the way back to submissions, just so we can go through it real quick. And I want to know, because you are looking at a computer screen that's huge.
Yeah.
And the pictures are about this big,
Right.
you know? And so what, if you've already selected your favorites that you know are right, that you know are great for this, and then you go in, you're like, I'm going to bring in some new people.
Yeah.
What makes an actor stand out in the submission that would stop you on the screen?
It's all the expression going on, and it's got to be here. You know, it's got to be right here. It can't be a three-quarter.
So is it the eyes?
Yeah, always the eyes. It's always going to be. It's not so much if they're smiling or not smiling. It's got to exude some kind of feeling that is just relevant to, first of all, what the character is that we're looking for. But even if it's not relevant to the character, it's interesting enough that it's going to draw me into it. And it's sometimes just a feeling you get after doing this for so many years.
I know.
You know what I mean? It's definitely a connection. There's like always I always like tell actors to look at the two shots that you're picking. Sometimes look at the one in between that on the content, because you never know. Actors shouldn't pick their own headshots.
I was just about to say, please don't tell actors to pick their own headshots. They're looking for which one they look prettiest in or most handsome, and it's never that photo.
It has never anything to do with what somebody physically looks like, unless they're, you know, we're looking for a specific physical type.
Yeah. I tell them, I'm like, if somebody isn't doing their homework, you go to your photo shoot like you would go to an audition. And so you have to have intention behind your eyes.
That's right. Even if, like, as you're changing the different outfits, you're a different character, and have like a point of view and a motivation, and whatever you think, especially in commercials, we'll see. So we'll see in the shot, we'll see on the screen. It's these huge physical adjustments. Just think the change we're giving you, and it's enough. It'll come through.
Yeah. So
pretty much take chances on new people. What I'll do generally is, you know how it is, and I know the actors know, it's thousands per role for a national network, union, national commercial. We might bring that down to 300, you know, and it's exactly how I just described it. It's people I know that I know are right, and then it's the new people that maybe are jumping out at me because of their headshot, and then when I break them down, then I turn them over and look at the other shots and the resume, and, you know, and get a sense of them. If there's footage, I always love to see footage if it's someone I don't know, because just to hear them, you know, see them move and hear them speak, and to just get a sense of a person.
That's really good to know, because a lot of actors don't put their footage up on LA Casting. They only put it up on Actors Access. And so it's important to spend that money and put your reels up on LA Casting.
Absolutely. It's so important, because for what I do, you know, actors have come a long way as far as the thinking and the stereotypes with commercials. A lot of times people didn't have resumes in the past, but like I was saying earlier, we need those resumes for your special skills and for your training. And we could tell a lot about you by, you know, just like even where you went to college, or where you went to school, or where you grew up, or what you like to do for fun. We could start to get a sense of who you are. And then footage of that, it validates or it could change that perception. So it's
and if you're picking between a couple of people and you need to narrow it down, would you say that looking at their training and whether they've taken commercial acting classes would automatically, if somebody did and somebody hadn't, then you'd probably take the one who did?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I think it's important that everyone take an on-camera commercial workshop. Even actors that work in film and television all the time that are just getting into commercials, it's very different. And there's wonderful schools that everybody knows who they are all over town. And,
Yep.
So because again, the technique is different. And you're never going to be the main person or the star of a commercial. So even if it's a celebrity, they're not going to be the star. It's going to be the Heineken bottle. It's going to be the Plymouth or the the BMW, or it's going to be whatever car. It's going to be the hamburger. So you have to figure out ways that what is your purpose in that spot. Like even on the board outside, we post the boards, and but it's never solely going to really be about. Even when you're a spokesperson, people are going to determine if you come back as that spokesperson by the sales,
Yeah.
of product that go up. I'm sure like someone like Flo's done amazing for Progressive, or
Yeah.
Laurel for Toyota, or like all our friends that are like have all of these.
Jeremy's on Capital One now. He's done
Jeremy got Capital One. I just saw something with him recently.
Yeah. He's doing another.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of years now. It's been awesome.
First got here, like when he first started going out and everything. So
yeah,
so good for us to see that. We really want you guys to succeed.
Yay! Let me ask you. So we did touch on the fact that all casting directors have their go-tos, even if you don't call them in all the time because you have to rotate. But what besides booking, what is it that gets someone from someone who you just like to on that list in your head, even if it's just a list in your head, that would make them be on your favorites list? Like who is that actor for you?
Who's an actor that is maybe new that I don't know?
I don't want to know a name. I want to know, like, how does a person go from being somebody new who you don't really know to being on like your favorites list?
Yeah, it's he's someone who we take a chance on and they impress us, and then we'll take a second chance on them and they'll impress us again, and it's a very different role the second time maybe. Or,
and what do you mean by impressing you?
That's a good question. Just being themselves, even prior to coming in the room, just like going to say hello if I'm walking across the lobby, and being themselves, or if I am in the room. I'll always talk. I always get kicked out of the room because I'll talk. Directors get so frustrated, but there's no general interviews in commercials. So it's a way so if there's a connection there and then they deliver, whether it's copy or the reaction or the audition, or if it's with a scene partner and they're giving to the scene partner and, and working with them equally and not trying to upstage, or that all comes through as professionalism. And it comes through as compassion and empathy for like your fellow actor. So those are the things that really stick out to me. And like, who's a good person?
Yeah.
I've had another situation that I've used as an example where we were in a callback situation really late. I mean, it was like almost midnight and everyone was still there. And we're just the two guys that we were deciding on, both so right for the role, and both did a great job with the material. And the director looked at me and said, well, look, we're going to need him for 3 days on a set. Who's going to be the nicer guy? Like, who are we going to want to hang out with for 3 days on set? They both can act. So sometimes someone's person, that's why I think it's so important for actors to live life other than acting. I think it's very important to train and stay consistent and current, but and it's what a lot of things I try to post. Like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
Whatever you can do today is only going to make you a better actor because you're just a more you're a well-rounded person.
And when people come in, I always say be nice to everyone. And so I just want to like really stress, like, I think that some people might think that the person who is checking people in and working the room, they might not think that person is important. And so they're not as kind, maybe. And so maybe you can speak to the fact that those things do get back to you.
Of course they get back to me. That person's working for me. And, you know, and it does get back to me. You know, someone's been really, you know, rude in the waiting room. You know, he or she has another appointment and, you know, and they're early. I'm like, well, did we approve them coming early? And they're like, no, they didn't. So they really, I think, you know, it does get back to us. And I think that's what I was saying earlier. Everyone is deserves equal respect, whether it's, you know, someone on the front line these days, you know, essential workers, they're essential workers to us too. It's really important, you know. And a lot of those people signing the assistants are either actors themselves or they're training to be casting directors. They'll have their own session. I used to sign in people, and I remember people that were nice, and you tend to remember the one. You always want to give someone a second chance, but there's no reason to be like that. No one should ever be like that to anyone, because it will get back to us.
Yeah. I have it on the phone sometimes when people don't know that they're talking to the owner of the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
You know, they think they're talking to a secretary, and I'm picking up my own phone.
Yeah.
And their voice changes even,
I
you
know
know.
that with actors too. They'll say, "And what's your name?" And I'll say, although they're like, "Yo, you're Michael," and it doesn't matter. You were doing great, you know.
So I think that sort of segues into the callback. And I think we did talk about it a little bit, but here's my like more specific question, which is when an actor is being called back and they are already liked in the room, and at least a couple of people have chosen them, you know, as their favorite. What are things that you've witnessed in the room that an actor does that either makes them win the room or lose the room?
Yeah, good question. Well, lose the room is the example I gave earlier, when you judge,
Yeah.
or when you're too much in a room. You know, you're on. You know,
Yeah.
and what wins the room is literally, if we didn't give you an adjustment between the first call and the callback, do something very similar to what you did before. Oh, you know, for a commercial, always wear what you wore before, because sometimes it's volume and they're remembering the sweater you had on more than.
Yeah.
And don't judge. You know, if someone's working with you, like a director or myself, you just take the adjustment as much as you can. Don't comment on it. You know, just do it, because you know that's what they need to. That's what they're going to be doing with you. You know, over the course of a day. So that to me is someone who wins the room. You know, again, it's not giving away your power. You waited a long time in that lobby. You're there. You're professional. You don't have to go out of your way. Of course, no one's shaking hands. No one will be shaking hands in the future. No, which is a bummer. I'm a hugger. So,
Me too.
um, so yeah, and I think that's, you know, you come in and you do your job, and if it isn't that particular commercial, you know, everyone will remember you for the not only the directors, the agency people. You know, we do multiple jobs with them sometimes, and they'll say, go back to this session we did, and you know, there was this lady in a red sweater, so we want to bring her in for. So you guys just never know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was really good. What advice, well, you sort of did it. So if someone was going to their very first callback, you
Right.
would say, wear the same clothes,
Where
don't change it up.
Don't change it up. Yeah. You mean for a commercial?
For a commercial, and it's their very first callback ever.
Yeah. It's going to be nerve-wracking, I'm sure, you know. But exactly what you said, wear the same clothes, don't change it up, don't overdo anything, you know. You realize you're there because you did a great job, you know, and we're rooting for you. The agency's rooting for you. The director's rooting for you. Or if they're both not, someone is.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
Yeah.
an agency pick or a director pick, um, and it really, and be grateful that you're there, and just know that if not that one, if you do those things I just said, you'll be back at another callback.
Yeah. And it really is just, tell me if I'm wrong, it really is just about going in and being yourself and doing the work. And I think sometimes what you said is like not trying to do too much. I think people try too hard to connect.
Yeah.
And so then it comes off as desperation, or
You guys don't have to connect with anyone in that room. There's people sometimes in those rooms that don't want to be in those rooms. They're just part of the account team, and that's why they're on their computer. They might be the art department, or but they're working together with the people that are in that room. You just focus on either the director, myself, or the session, whoever is engaging with you and giving you direction. You don't have to look at anyone. You don't need their approval, and that'll take the pressure off of you.
yeah. Okay. And then I also just wrote, like, what is one piece of information that you would give to actors that you just think is the most important thing that they should know?
Wow. That's a good question.
I know that's broad.
Yeah, no, I think if you are doing this because you love it and it's your passion, just stand by that and stick to that, and don't give away your power, and don't feel you have to be perfect. And we're all works in progress. We're all changing and developing. Please take all the pressure off yourselves. I feel so bad for so many, actors I know, my actor friends, who just look defeated or sound defeated, see it on their face when they're walking out a door, and they're so wrong. So please don't judge yourselves, especially at a first call. Trust me and my crew that if it's not right, we'll do it again,
Yeah.
So I would say take the pressure off yourselves and don't give away your power. You are just as important as anybody else in the process.
Yeah. And you're there for a reason, and
Yeah.
you were chosen to be there over thousands and
That's,
thousands of people.
and
And you never know.
if you're there and you're seeing a lobby of people that don't look anything like you, trust that you're there for a reason. There might be a method to our madness. We might be, in cahoots with either the agency or the director, trying to get somebody to see an alternative way to go with it.
Yeah.
But
I've booked stuff because of that, because I was the youngest person there, and there were a lot of women in their 40s, and I was in my 20s, and I was like, what am I doing here? But you just never know. You could be the other choice, and sometimes the other choice is what wins.
we've done that before with a pharmaceutical years ago, where they wanted Caucasian man, 35 to 40, blah, blah, blah. My director said, bring in different ethnicities, like 6 or 7. And an African-American guy booked it, and we were so happy because, it's been the opposite, but it was better, because that's the other thing that's changing so much in commercials. Is everyone wants real people and diversity. And part of what we're trying to do with the CSA and the CCDA is get advertisers, clients to just open their minds a little bit to, what's representative right now in America. So that's always good too. And everyone should know, speaking of that you are a commercial type. Like 20 years ago, you had to fit certain molds no matter what your ethnicity was. Now anyone is a commercial type.
And I also think it's important because a lot of people poo-poo commercials as being over the top, and that's such an old adage. Like, all the directors now are feature film directors.
They're all feature film directors. A lot of them are feature film directors that are doing everything, or if they're not, they're a new generation of directors where everything is very real and very minimal. Even when they say real people, we're still hiring actors a lot, unless it's a testimonial type spot. But it's very important to think of the commercials as like a 30-second or a 15-second film.
Yeah.
So many, and some of these film directors are meeting people. I've seen it in commercials that are pulling them over to their feature film.
Absolutely, 100%.
So that's another thing to not judge. You don't know who you're meeting in that room, and if you don't, you're not obsequious and you're not shooting yourself in the foot, not looking desperate, they'll remember you.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I do get a lot of actors, not a lot, but I do get a good number of actors who come to me and they're like, I'm only interested in theatrical. And I tell them that I really want to change their way of thinking about commercials, because commercials is first of all, it's a great way to meet casting directors who are also doing features.
Yeah.
It's also feature film directors who are directing a lot of the commercials.
Right.
And it
And
is what?
TV directors too.
What did you say?
Television.
Oh yeah, TV directors.
They're doing a lot of commercials now too.
A lot.
Yeah.
And also commercials, because you're getting these residuals, it is such a great way to sustain yourself in this business.
Yeah.
That, you know, so that you do, I mean, I have so many actors that they make their health insurance, they make, because they do commercials. I want to ask you a question, because I know that everything is done online and through email now, but I still tell actors when they ask me what they can do, even energetically, I'm like, when's the last time you sent a postcard?
Yeah, postcards are the best.
Aren't they the best?
Yeah,
So
more so headshot and resume, because especially if you put a personal note on it, like, hey, you know, I met you on Stacy's Beth's Instagram feed, or you know, we'll look at that. And then if you have a link to your work, you don't need to have your picture and resume, a big 8x10. We'll go to the website, or we'll go to, you know, we'll look you up on.
Yeah.
I keep a favorites folder on my desktop of like different folders, like people I know, people that are new that I'm looking out for, we talked about before.
Yep.
Or sometimes, you know, those cards mean so much to us. Like I used to keep a drawer of thank you cards. Like, you know, sometimes when you hear from somebody who was about to leave LA, you know, and they booked a job, that like a commercial, and they made their health insurance, and it makes us feel like we're doing something. It means more than any kind of gift. You guys should never have to give us gifts unless it's money. No. Don't do it.
People look at me weird when I say, when was the last time you sent a postcard? And they're like, well, I don't have anything to say. And I'm like, just say hi. Or
Hi, yeah.
Because
you don't have to do it every week. Some people, it gets to be
a lot.
But you know, the address that they come to is my address at Larchmont, and everything goes to that address. Our checks, our invoices, our.
So you're looking at that.
Yeah.
And I say to people, even if they're going to get thrown away, which most of them do,
we'll journal them. Like I was saying, I'll look someone up and save them onto one of my files.
And even if it's somebody that you go, oh no, or whatever, like even if it does get thrown away, your brain registered it. And if you then see them on the submission, even subconsciously.
Right. That's so important, because that's really another, sometimes it's smoke and mirrors and psychological in our business. And if I see that postcard and then like 10, maybe a couple of days later, I'm prepping and that picture comes up and I'm like, I don't know where I knew that person from, but you pick them.
Yeah.
So that's really a good
point. I just got goosebumps.
That's good.
Because I think it's really true. And I think that just goes back to just advertising 101.
Yeah.
It's like sending your picture with your name. We used to do it all the time in the old days.
Yeah.
And I think it still works. Some casting directors don't like it, but I do believe that even in the 3 seconds that it takes to throw it away, they did see it.
Absolutely. And if we didn't, it really registers in our brain, you know. And another example is, let's say you take on someone new and you're submitting them constantly, and you know, my office, let's say it's me prepping or Jillian's prepping, and we're not clicking on them right away. Eventually, you know, see them over and over. We don't know. Sometimes I'm not really sure it's even from you, because I'll bring up maybe 100 submissions on a page.
Yeah.
You know, we can either bring them up by agency or by just as, you know, volume. And a lot of times we're going by volume because we're going so fast.
Yeah.
Then, you know, it's like, oh, wait, that person looks familiar. Were they in this or this? And it's just someone that you've been submitting.
Yeah.
So click on it and take a chance with them. And so,
I have a good story for you.
Let me hear.
So, of course, you know Rob Maynard,
Of
right?
course. He's also a good photographer.
Right. So remember back in the day, you know, I used to represent him commercially, and he
Yeah.
was a big postcarder, and he booked a lot of non-union commercials, good ones. And he would take screenshots from his commercials and he would send them as postcards.
Yeah.
And he was working so much and everybody knew him so much. And I remember the day that a casting director called me and said, would Rob Maynard do just an internet SAG commercial? And I was like, he's non-union. They think he's union because he's worked so much and he's done so well at marketing himself
Yeah.
that people thought that he, oh no, they asked, would he be a dollar sign? It was
Oh,
for a union spot. And they were like, would he do this for scale? And I was like, yeah, he'll do it for scale. And I was laughing and I called him and I was like, they just asked me if you would do a union project for scale or if you were an overscale actor.
that's such a good example of promotion and advertising
Yes.
and product placement being the product. So because it really creates, it just look what it did. It raised his value.
Yeah. I have a question for you because this one has come up quite a bit and it's about putting commercials on the resume versus putting commercial conflicts upon request. And I want to ask you because I have a very strong opinion and maybe your opinion will be different. But to me, commercial conflicts upon request means jack shit, right? It doesn't mean anything. So I don't think you should put it. And I think you just leave that off. And then the question then becomes, if you're casting a car commercial and you look at someone's resume and they say, I've done Buick, Infiniti, and Hyundai, are you going to be less likely to call that actor in because you see they've done 3 other car commercials?
That's really a good question. I won't know, but the agency will.
Yeah.
8 times out of 10, we encourage actors. It's not for us, you guys, because we're watching commercials. We want to know all the different commercials you've been in, and we do a lot of the time just because that's what, our research. But I think you shouldn't list them for that reason because someone did last year, and I can't remember the product, but they had a competitive product on their resume from maybe a couple of years ago. Even we looked up the spot, we called the agent, and they couldn't get it out of their head. So, and I'm not saying all advertising agencies are like that, but it's a fear. Then they're concerned their clients going to see it, and I think it could be a reason to give them to not hire you.
Yeah.
What you could do now, I always would rather see lists furnished upon request or the directors you've worked with.
Oh, that's a great idea. So
Yeah.
instead of saying conflicts upon request,
Yeah.
you can put commercials and say, here are the directors I've worked with in commercials. Oh my God, that's a big light bulb.
Good. Yeah, because the products could scare some people away, and chances are they're not going to see your picture and resume unless it comes up in the callback. When we send the links at the end of the day, the casting links through the different services, your picture and resumes are accessible to them on the link. But we don't know if they're always looking at them. At a callback, we always have those ready in case they do have questions, and and we're looking at them too prior to you coming back.
So people are asking these questions. So I'm just gonna say this one more time. I would not put conflicts upon request because that's redundant. We all know you have conflicts and you will tell us.
Yeah.
Don't list your commercials because if you put, oh, I did this Chrysler commercial, this Infiniti commercial, it could possibly take you out of the running for the commercial you're going in for.
Right.
The best thing that Michael just light bulbed me with is under commercials, list your directors.
Yeah.
Say what directors you've worked with.
Yeah, put the directors you worked with because, most of the agencies and clients know all these different directors go through a whole bidding process to get a job that I didn't even know about until years ago. Like they go through like an audition. So even big film, these film directors are competing against other film directors. So the clients, and we're going to know a lot of the directors, whether we work with them or not, you know, who they are. So, you know, the only thing we have to know, and your agents are really good with this, is if you have a competitor, they won't submit you, or, you know, they'll say, I submitted so-and-so, but he has a conflict. Can you take him out, or I'll take him out, or, and we understand that, but, yeah, I wouldn't list the products, you know.
No. And here's the other thing that I would say for brand new actors, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but you have to be very careful when submitting yourself for non-union stuff that's open to actor submissions, because you could submit yourself. I had a client who was the first choice on a huge campaign that's still going, and I'm not going to mention the campaign and I'm not going to mention the actor.
Will you text it to me later? No.
I will, because it's a big one. And you actually already mentioned her in here. So I have a client who submitted herself on, it wasn't non-union, but it was an industrial, and it was for an insurance company. And it didn't really see the light of day. It was only on her website and in one other place on the internet. And she came down to being the favorite, but when all those people are in a callback and they're just looking online and they're Googling you, they can find things.
Yeah.
And they found that, and she became not a choice anymore. Because
was it a competitive product? I missed that.
It was a competitive product, and but it was only an industrial, and she had made, I think, $1,000. So I think it's really important to be making wise choices when you're submitting yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And be careful of what you put on your reels and websites, which goes back to when we were talking about reels before. If I don't have footage on you, I would much rather see your theatrical footage than commercial footage, even for a commercial. Reason being, when you're doing when you're doing a scene, I'm going to hear you and see you move, and I might get that when you're doing copy in a commercial. But a lot of times, if it's a vignette and you're just having a reaction with a child or another person, I'd rather see your theatrical. And if they're looking at this, they being the clients too, that's exactly what could happen. They'll take someone right out of the running.
Yeah.
So, someone had asked me recently about iSpot, and I'm not really sure how that works as far as what actors could control or what the agent could control. But I think the only thing we need to know about are spots that are, like I had said, that are competitive with what we're currently casting. So you want to be careful there too, because a lot of clients do go to iSpot or these places that, especially if it's a couple of years old, you could, I think, take it away.
Yeah, I think on iSpot it's different. iSpot, all the commercials live there, and actors are not in charge of bringing that up or taking it down. And I believe ad agencies know those are old spots, but you do have to be careful about posting maybe a smaller job that you've done.
Yeah.
And then putting it like on your website or something like that, because you have to remember that even though that job might not be holding a conflict, the big one that you're going in for is.
Yeah, it's like what you just said with that example.
Yeah.
Too, that is really important. On the flip side of, people seeing products that you've done, there are people, especially, advertisers and directors, that want repeat actors.
What? You just cut out.
They want actors that have had experience, that have done several commercials, because they have that technique down, and those are the people that become the commercial actors that work all the time, and they're chameleons, and and so it's very different. So, okay, yeah, they were in this, Chevy commercial from 4 years ago, but they're gonna have beer now, or they'll be in a different situation. So there are people who really understand that that a commercial actor will work in multiple commercials, which is the point of this.
Yeah, I have several guys, and they're like my car guys, right? Like Jeremy Brandt. Before he got Capital One, right?
Yeah.
He always had a car spot. every year. As soon as one dropped, another car would pick them up. And so
Yeah.
it's not really about that, because as long as the commercial is old,
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
He'll be in different wardrobe. He'll be using different dialogue. It'll be a different situation, of course.
Yeah. But if the spot is like, let's say it's a small industrial and the company is going to keep it on their website, right?
Yeah.
And there's no term, and so they get to keep it on the website in perpetuity or whatever. It's just actors who are submitting themselves. You just have to be very careful
What you present, which goes back to what you were saying about in a callback, they're Googling you and looking for, this came up on another Q&A recently about social media and how important that is. That's very different. I mean, you know, if we're casting an influencer, it's going to be important. But if we're casting an actor, it doesn't matter to me how many followers you have. Sometimes the ad agencies, if they're looking for someone who has a following, it's only because they're looking to work a deal with them on their Instagram feed or their Facebook feed. But what they do look for a lot of times are negative posts or you know, very harmful things that you know, or risque things that, you know.
And they don't want them representing their brand.
That's right. That's exactly right. So you have to be careful with because they are Googling and looking at people's feeds, you know.
Yeah. I tell people that all the time. Like, I actually lost a pretty big client because I called him and I said, oh, did I lose you? I said, you know, you're posting a lot of these shirtless photos, and I asked him to take them down. I just said, I just feel like you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot with this. And he got upset with me.
He what?
He got upset with me.
Oh, I think my advice is listen to your agents. No, I'm serious. Because that could come back to haunt someone if it's overdone or too much. You know, it could probably help them for certain jobs. But if you take it down, and what my feeling is, it was probably overdone.
Yeah, it was. I just feel like you always want to present yourself in a very professional way.
Yeah.
And so that when people are Googling you, they're like, oh, we want him representing our brand.
Yeah. Yeah, this was years ago, we had cast somebody who, for like a spokesperson in a car commercial, and then they found out something he had did theatrically where it was kind of like softcore porn almost. We had no idea, and it was years ago, but we had to recast the whole. They just didn't want a chance. You know, and everyone's human and they make mistakes and things are out there, but you know, if you don't have anything out there, just be really careful. Or if you do have something that you're questioning, check with your agent. Or if you don't have any, you know, just really think about it if it's going to hurt you in some way. Somebody says it.
And while we're talking about commercials, I'm just going to bring this up because I think it's really important. A lot of actors don't take the business side of things into their own hands. They leave it to their agencies. And, you know, I now have my back office now has 2 people, and all they do is they scour the internet and they scour Instagram and Twitter for spots that ad agencies have left up. And prior to the new contract, we were able to actually get money for the unauthorized usage. And even, what?
Something like that just came up recently. We were able to get money for the actors.
Right. And so I have recovered over $300,000 for my actors. And that is a huge, and I'm a small company. So I think that if bigger companies were doing this, it would force the ad agencies to really take things down on time. And
yeah, really important.
And so I think it's also, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that I think it's very important for actors to pay attention to the MPU, which is the maximum period of use. And as soon as that MPU is over, you go and you look and you make sure that it's down. And if it's not down, then you call your agent and you take a picture and a screenshot and you send it. And nowadays, we cannot ask for money because of the contract. But what we can do is we can ask them to take it down. And so even if it's on Facebook or whatever, we can say, can you please take that down now?
Right.
And I just had pushback from an agency about it because they read the clause in the contract and they said, yeah, but we're allowed to keep it up. And I said, actually, you're not. If you reread it, it says that I can't make you pay me, but you have to take it down. Like, it doesn't mean you can keep something up in perpetuity.
We've had to call because thanks, agents who had taken screenshots or actors and had approached us that this was supposed to come down. And now sometimes I gotta say the agency didn't even know. It might be someone like their social media account person, like inadvertently left it up. But we never had pushback. If it was something that we established up front with the breakdown, the terms of the contract, they had to honor it,
And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that that they're being evil.
No,
at all.
No, but
sometimes they just don't even think about it, right?
But exactly, sometimes they don't think about it. But that being up could hurt, like we were talking about earlier, someone from booking a competitive product, if they ever got a hold of that or they did see that, and it should be out there.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very important, and I think we've never had, by approaching an agency or a producer about it, pushback. They would either look into it, come back, and maybe challenge us, like you just said. Oh, that's not what it says, and we're like, no, but we remember we clarified this, and and they're like, oh no, you're right, take it down, or oh wow, I didn't even realize that was still up, but I'll reach out to my social media department and make sure they remove it. So yeah, I think great that you have a team of people doing that.
Yeah, they just recovered quite a bit of money, and now you can't ask for money past the MPU for social media. But what you can still find is if it's up past the MPU and you were only paid for 1 year during that 21 months, they owe you for that second year because they never took it down.
Yeah.
So there is still money to be recouped on this.
Yeah, and it's important, and someone due money should get that money. So
yeah, I think the most important thing is that actors, this is what they do for a living, and it puts money on the table, it puts food on the table, and it pays for their health insurance, and I feel like it's important for actors. Specifically, I'm doing it as an agent, but I always tell actors, be smart. Be smart about your career. It is.
Yeah. Business. You were talking about it being business.
Yeah, because you can't just say, oh, I'm just the artist and not expect to leave money on the table.
Yeah. That's really the point. And it's going back to talking about business, and what I think I can't depend on 100%. There's got to be a lot of that you have to do on your own, and even to generate the ring. So it's very important. I could tell you, as a former actor and being married to an agent many years ago, I learned so much from her, and my respect for agents went up through the things. The way she was working for her clients is probably why we're not married. That's a whole other thing. But she was a wonderful agent, but it was so disappointing to see the dependency level on on every single move someone would make, and a lot of it is, there's books you guys could read, and I'm sure there's online tutorials and classes now, but it's really important that you do a lot of the work too. Like even things like this, or classes, or through, like, if you're in the union, the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, or if you're not in the union, I know there's other there's so many of us CDs are doing these Instagram lives these days, or there's a lot of monologue competitions I'm seeing, because it is a way for us to get to know you, but your agents can't submit you on that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
right. And I always say, you know, we're making 10%. They're making 90%. So they should be doing 90% of the work.
that's exactly right.
And to your point about marriage, my husband and I, when I'm in working as an agent, I call myself Beth Stein. I'm like, babe, I'm Beth Stein right now. Like, he comes to me and he wants me to be sexy Stacy, and I'm like, it's Beth. Sorry.
Great that you have those two personas. It took years to figure out you were the same person.
Well, I didn't come out of the closet for a long time.
It was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense.
I remember Jeff Gerard calling, and he was like, and he was whispering to me. He was like, Stacy, is that you?
He's got a funny personality. He's great.
Yeah. And I was like, Jeff, I wanted to tell you forever.
No, but you've done amazingly well, like with Beth Stein. You know, your company. Yeah.
It really started as like a grassroots, like, you know, almost like a theater company. Like, yeah. I'm just going to take these people who I know are amazing actors, and I've worked for casting and I've worked for an agency, and I just want to, like, I can do this. And then it just
absolutely
blew up.
Hard to take a lot of people, and just from doing commercial and theatrical, it's much harder for a person to get theatrical representation to really open that world to people. So that's hard to do.
I always say that the theatrical is the heart, you know, and commercials is the bread and butter. Like, my company, thank God that I do commercials, because my company would not be open right now.
Same with
commercials.
The commercials really are also with us, but you know, in Atlanta too. Well, Atlanta's been interesting. It's been more theatrical there, but we only opened in 2018, and Jillian just had a baby a week ago. Yeah.
Oh my
God! He's all over Instagram. His name is Riot. So Atlanta's on maternity leave right now.
Oh my God! Congratulations!
Yeah, she's very happy. He's so adorable, and they're very happy with her and Garrett, her husband.
So listen, I don't want to take up more of your time because I know we've already gone over, but
nope.
I'm
good.
I want to, like, you just have such a way with words, and you're so encouraging and loving. And is there something that you would, like, want to leave everybody with in terms of, like, just some sort of encouragement or anything for everything?
I would say, I mean, don't give up on your dreams, and don't stop following your passion. And you know, it's a very tough time we're all in right now. I don't think I think collectively as a planet, the world, we've never been in a situation like this in my life. I'm older. So I would say just hang in there, and, you know, and look at sometimes those affirmations, and just, you know, on days like that, do something that feeds your soul, even if it has nothing to do with acting. And whatever faith you have, or whatever belief system, you have to hang on to that right now. And there's always enough work for everyone, and you're always enough. You matter. So don't compare yourself to other people. That's the big thing right there. Yeah, everyone is their own individual person, and, you know, if not now, someday we will need you. So, stay safe and wear a mask.
Michael, thank you so much.
You're welcome.